what role do security agencies play at this, during these kind of incidents? Because the CISF was also there. Does he have the right to intervene and stop the airline pilot from skipping the queue?
Yes, I'll tell you this PRM counter where this passenger was directed to by the security people, because to facilitate, quick passage of passengers through the security checks, this is done. This is a very common practice. And since he was carrying a toddler, he was directed towards this PRM counter, which is meant for basically a staff and other people. So it is well understood. See, what I'm trying to say that, there is no doubt about it that this pilot has crossed all limits. He's crossed all limits. But what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to point out certain things, why these kinds of things are happening in our aviation sector. Because we are overlooking many things. We need to strengthen certain areas. Like for an example, are we aware that illegal lifting of items from the airport shops are on the rise? The passengers, they're lifting items and they are being caught. They are not aware that they are under CCTV cameras. Every corner is being covered. If you, there is a very good book by Mr. Shiv Kumar Mohanka. He has the DIG CISF. He has written and he has given case studies of and data about it. And are we aware? Are we aware that the government has made a rule that all unruly passengers will be put under no-fly list? How many passengers have been put under no-fly list? Let me ask this. There are many cases where scuffles have taken place within the aircraft, within the airport. How many number of passengers we have put under no-fly list? There has to be some punitive action to create a deterrence for these kinds of activities, not only for the operators and airline people, but also for the passengers. So the government has to, step up. They will have to seriously look into what is required to be done in our total ecosystem of aviation. And let me tell you, the Air India Express, as far as my information goes, has not de-rostered that pilot on its own. There is the Ministry of Civil Aviation, which has directed the BCAS, Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, and CISF to independently constitute an inquiry and look and submit a report, and directed the airline to de-roster this pilot pending this inquiry. And then the Air India Express has de-rostered him. So there are certain, we are lacking, the airlines are lacking, we are lacking in our conduct, and the ministry and the DGCA will have to seriously look into the areas where we need to work more. We need to work more.
Captain Sanjay Karve, these kind of lapses are recurring. And, in the corporate structure, there is something called as the PIP. So if someone is not performing up to the mark, they are put in PIP to ensure that, they either find another job or they mend their ways. Do you think that such a concept should also be in aviation, reduce the flight hours and also, show him that if you misbehave with the passengers who pay for the ticket, who fuel your aviation success, your airline success, you can't go against them, you can't ill-treat them?
I really don't know how practical it is going to have a concept like this in an aviation sector, because the crew undergoes a proficiency check every 6 months. They undergo a recurrent training check on a simulator where this CRM and interacting with passengers is also covered in detail, and discussions do take place. Yes, it's a good idea, but there is a limit to having this in an airline structure. It appears very nice because a corporate structure and an airline structure is entirely different. Their functioning is different. And when I say airline structure means, I'm talking of the air crew and the cabin crew. Finally, even an airline is a corporate, it is looking after its balance sheet. We saw what had happened with Indigo. So I'm not denying that it's not a corporate, but the working structure of both a pure corporate and an airline is a bit different. What is surprising, that an entity like Tata, which owns Air India and Air India Express, is keeping quiet about this. Normally, Tata Group was the one in this country which was known to be very fair and having a lot of empathy. And I am surprised that there is no comment or no statement from the Tata Group which owns Air India Express. It's very easy to say that Air India Express is not my main business, Air India is my business, but the fact still remains. The moment you say Air India or Air India Express, majority of Indians associated with Tata, the first thing which comes to our mind is, how can this happen in a Tata company? Most of the Indians do remember as to what action the Tata Group took place when 9/11 happened or when that Mumbai attack took place. The Tata Group went out of their way to help people who were even remotely connected with the Taj Hotel. So it does appear that the Tata Group themselves have got a corporate change. They're having a separate thinking, or they have changed their line of thinking and they're going purely in a business model, not realizing that in aviation sector, it is the passengers who are going to help make profit. It is not advertisement. It is not those flashy signs which are seen at the airport or in the movie halls. It is that passenger who is your bread and butter. I'm not saying you pamper him, but you need to give him due respect. He is not a freeloading passenger. He is paying for it. You know, some airlines have that approach. Oh, he's paying only $1,000. He's paying $1,000 because you are charging him $1,000. He didn't get up and say, I will pay only 1,000 rupees or I will pay only 2,000 rupees. You have decided that I am going to charge this amount of money on this particular route. So you cannot get up and say, I am making a loss because of this fare. You have decided the fare. No one has forced you. Now, if that is going to affect the pay and allowances of the crew and it is going to percolate on their behavior, the management needs to take a serious note of this issue. You know, something like this tarnishes the image not only of the airline, but the corporate group which owns the airline, which in this particular case is the Tata Group.
That's right. And Professor Mishra, do you think that Indian aviation really needs an aviation ombudsman, to address public complaints against some of these firms, these airlines? Do you think that is the need of the hour? If you don't think so, then what is the need of the hour?
Very well said. Very well said. You see, actually, we must have a good customer redressal mechanism in place, which is not there. Which is very, very important, and it has to be online 24/7, so that people can call that number and express their dissatisfaction on any kind of a quality of service or any kind of a promise which has been made but not kept. You see, I'm very happy to hear about the Tatas and the actions to be, because you see, I'm a person who was born in Jamshedpur, brought up by the Tatas. My dad worked with Tatas for 40 years, so I know their value system. They are not keeping quiet, let me tell you. It's the ecosystem. The ecosystem which has made them behave in this manner today, because everything becomes political. You see, you take some action, a rightful action against a pilot, there is an association which goes and starts protecting them. Now, that is what is needed to be changed. You see, the passengers, let me tell you very frankly, they would never misbehave till they are not provoked. You see, I travel a lot, and I have seen the scenes at the airport. When when there is a delay, when there is no information being given, the passengers are running from pillar to post to understand what to do next. The airlines just don't bother because they have taken the money in advance and they refuse to pay on the spot. Because I can't even take a different airline and change my my route or change my airline on the spot. Now, there has to be a system that the airline, if they're not flying and they've cancelled at the last moment, then they must make arrangements alternatively with other airlines to take their passengers in a pro bono manner, in a manner where the airline will, do a kind of interportability, which I don't see in India happening. Everybody is wanting to make profit. Yes, business needs profit, but it doesn't mean that you become unethical. You start misbehaving. You start breaking the law. You start taking the law in your own hand because you know the passenger is helpless, he can't do anything. He has to wait for 20 days to get a refund. Sometimes they don't even get a refund which he is entitled to in terms of full money being given to them. I get umpteen cases every day from passengers saying that I have not been given the full money on some pretext or the other, where the airline had cancelled the flight. Why is it like that? Why can't the regulator, penalize them so that they don't misbehave in this manner? They don't ill-treat the passengers in this manner.
That's right, and there are cracks, there are loopholes that must be addressed at the very earliest, because Wing Commander, if India has to become a global aviation hub, there are certain benchmarks that India has to set. What are those benchmarks? Your final thoughts?
We will have to be, the punitive actions have to be taken, and corrective measures should be taken in all areas wherever we find the people lacking. And secondly, I fully agree with what Professor Mishra has said here. It's not the problem with the Tata Group. Because I have experience working with these groups at the aviation sector. The problem with the Tatas is that they have suddenly taken up Air India and Air India Express, and they are fighting it out with the system, with the manpower which they had to perforce take on board. So this is the transition period. It will take a lot of time when the new manpower replace them. Probably things would be better at that time. But in my opinion, the government will have to step in to do training courses, take appropriate actions wherever we find lacking. And as you have suggested, Ombudsman, yes, I strongly believe that there has to be some mechanism where passengers' redressal must be addressed, because rightly said by Professor Mishra, in this case also,